right, I think we are live. It is Sunday, the 20th of December, and we're going to do just a basic weekly review. I'm going to walk everybody through exactly how I look at the markets over the weekend. I run everything on Thinkorswim, and I always start off with the weeklies, especially over the weekend. I find that the weeklies give tons of clarity into what is going on, and the dailies present a little bit more noise. So I always start with the weeklies and then make decisions based off of what the weekly chart and the weekly price action is showing me. First off, I only use a 20-day EMA or a 20-week EMA, depending on how the chart is set up. I look at levels in which I want to do business. You'll always hear me talk about doing business at the edge. I don't ever want to put on trades or be active in the middle. And the reason being is just there's too much noise in the middle. The asset that you're in has a natural auction, meaning that it's going to wiggle back and forth. I don't like to get caught up in that. I'd rather take money off at the top edge, and I'd rather put positions on at the bottom edge. So I'm always looking for levels to participate, and are those levels at the edge, because the money is made at the edge, the money is not made in the middle. So starting off, we just have the S&P on the weekly, not seeing too much other than if you take a look at the last 3 weeks, we spent a lot of time inside this weekly bar. So we spent 2 weeks. More than likely, we're looking for a break higher. However, I do look at a couple like proprietary things. Number one is the option market. You'll hear me talk about this a lot. Call walls, put walls, and vol triggers. I buy that data. I'll put it in the description below. So if you're interested in it, there's a guy who runs a company called spotgamma.com. And what they look at is gamma in the option markets to give you a more predictive, or basically it tells you how the structure of the market is setting up. What you want to see, and they do a great job of explaining this. I just use their data feed. I don't want to buy my own. It's a little expensive. So I just let them put it all together, and then I go off of their daily feed that they send you every morning. But basically, call walls present a wall or resistance. A put wall represents support. And this is done with actual options. So they look at the total gamma, where that is in the options market. And these walls provide opportunities as well as indications on what is going on or what the market might do or where it might go. The three most important for me, again, they do a great job of explaining it, but I really just look at three things: call wall, put wall, and the vol trigger. What we're seeing now is the S&P has a call wall at 3,700, so 370 on the SPY. But the call wall is trying to move up to the 3750 on the SPX, 375 on the SPY. If that continues to happen and gamma builds above, then that allows the market to continually move higher. What I like to see, if I think a pullback is coming or there's going to be a correction, typically what you're going to see is the call wall won't move. The indexes will move through the call wall, but they can't sustain it. And then that is what leads to a move lower, so that the gamma can build again, and then the market can then try again to move higher. So a great tell is when the call wall doesn't move, as well as it goes, same thing applies to the put wall. If the put wall is not moving, that's a tell. If when there's a gigantic sell-off, it will sell off down into that put wall. You want to see that put wall hold. If the put wall holds, that's a great time to put new trades on, because what it's showing you is no one is looking for lower prices. They're taking off their hedges, which then leads to typically a higher market price after that occurs. So back to the S&P, again, not seeing much other than we spent basically 2 weeks inside of 1 week, and the call wall hopefully shifted. We'll know Monday morning if it shifted up to that 375 or 3750 on the SPX. If so, that's going to give us an opportunity to move forward. As well, you have some stimulus news. I think they're going to give everybody $600. It'll be interesting to see what the market does with that, as well as what it doesn't do. So if the market doesn't rally on the 600, that's a tell. If it does rally on the 600, I think it's pretty much whatever. expected. I don't think that there's much there. Continue to be long. The only other issue I have, or kind of warning signal, I have a volatility trigger. Again, I use somebody else's. I'll put that in the description. But basically, it shows when volatility is getting ready to break out. It's starting to wobble, meaning that it's starting to signal a breakout in vol, which if there is a breakout in volatility, you don't want to be long the market. You want to be long vol, which is basically short the market. So you're starting to have a couple things lined up. The call wall kind of wants to move, but it hasn't totally moved, as well as the vol trigger picking up. So again, some warning signs. So what I like to do is I use that as when to push on the gas and when to pump the brakes. So right now, I really wouldn't be putting on any type of large new position, maybe some little feeler positions. I would manage what you currently have, tighten stops, protect your profits. You do have some seasonality that's positive. You have some things working for you, but you also have some warning signs in the structure of the market that makes me believe that the opportunity of this thing, or this probability of this thing pulling back, is starting to escalate. But we'll know more on Monday to see if that call wall shifted. So no trades on the S&P, not really seeing anything here. We're going to go to the Qs next, which is the NASDAQ. Again, this looks a little bit stronger, breaking out to new highs. It's putting in higher lows. Everything looks great. Volume looks great on the weekly. Nothing, I think, to worry about here. IWM, they've been hitting this pretty hard. Kind of a rotation out of growth into value. So these are getting scooped up. I believe we're hitting new highs. But you could easily see where this could come back into the 170s, which is a 30 handle from where it is right now. Just to retest this breakout, that is very plausible. So you should definitely keep that in, you should definitely take that into consideration. If you're not looking at that as a plausible outcome, then I think you're setting yourself up for failure. Next up, we're going to get into the dollar, which for whatever reason does not like the weekly. So on TOS, we're going to jump out of there. Let's look at GLD on the weekly. You had a breakdown. Got a lot of everyone expecting inflation. I'm a little suspect of this. A lot of people are talking about it. You had a retest of it. I don't know. I'm kind of sitting on the fence, or I want more information. Once it gets back up into this 180, 190 range, I'm interested. But if this is just a retest of the breakdown before it's going to make one or two more legs lower, really don't want to be in it. The other thing is it's slightly above the 20-day or the 20-week. Again, sitting and waiting to see how this pans out. I think there's more legs to this. I just think it's going to consolidate back and forth and frustrate a lot of people for the next quarter or two before it resumes its trend, but that's just my assumption. SLV is super interesting. It never really broke down. It held, which typically silver is a great hedge against a declining dollar. Dollar's been declining, so it's been doing pretty good, I would say, with the dollar decline, but it's still kind of stuck in this 22, 26 range. So again, I'd like to see a higher low and a higher high put in before I would get back into this trend. If this does get up over 26, it will go 30 very quick. If you can get up and over 30, really the only thing above it is 48 bucks. So this could actually set up as a great trade, but not seeing much right now. It's constructive. 20-week held, in a couple probes, couldn't find sellers below, buyers step back in on volume. Everything seems to be working fine, but you want to see it get up over 25 because this is where the big break happened. This is where all the shorts are going to cover. So if we can get up and over the 25, you definitely have some room to run. All right, next up, Square, love Square. And again, it just trends ridiculously well. Nothing to see here other than it's doing everything that it's supposed to be doing. Bonds, 20-year, the TLT, love this, love bonds. If you haven't thought about trading bonds or bond type products, highly recommend. On a weekly basis, below 20, downtrending. You have multiple weeks inside this big push, which kind of sets up for a move higher, I think. Or you could definitely you could even argue if it can get below the 155s, it can break it. So I don't know. I don't have a bond position on, not really looking for anything here. But I do like to watch the bonds. I think they offer some great tells, but not much going on with TLT on the weekly. XLK, another one I watch, it's tech. Again, looks just like the Qs. Needs to get up over this big swing high around that 126, 127 level. But again, it's not really doing anything wrong. It's just trending. So I don't think there's a lot here or a lot to talk about. Tip, inflation protected bonds, nice. Had a nice move, consolidation. It's back to making new highs. Again, doing everything right. Don't see anything wrong on the weekly. Freeport, McMoran, this thing just trends ridiculously well. Little overextended, I would say. I mean, you got to remember we went from $5. That's a 500 bagger in 6 months. You've spent the last 2 weeks inside of this big week, which means that it's consolidating. Now, we just have to figure out if we have to move lower before we move higher. More than likely, we will probably have a pullback, which will allow it to then take another run at the highs. No position in Freeport, McMoran. And let's see, Love Energy. So let's take a look at those. ExxonMobil. This was a fantastic trade. So you had the break early this year, came down. You basically had a relief rally, and then it wanted to retest the bottom. It tested it perfectly. We're off to the races. This thing's trending. There's really not much to do. We're maintaining our call positions in this trade. Nothing new other than you got a week inside the other week. I think this will just continually move higher. I think you could easily see this thing trade back to 70. First kind of stop though is probably going to be these two little overshoots right in here before you probably have a meaningful pullback. That's my assumption, but we're deep in the money on the call options, so really not much to do here except look for tactical entries on a pullback, but it's not really giving us that. Next up on the energy side, let's look at XLE, the ETF. Again, you have 1 week inside of another week. That's fine. You have two little overshoots here. I think this is probably going to get tested pretty soon. Again, love this trade. We bought call options down in here and held, and now we're getting ridiculously rewarded for them. So again, I continue to be long energy. Nothing to do. There's no worries. Just looking to add to these energy positions on tactical pullbacks. We look for tactical pullbacks on the daily, not the weeklies. And another big one I love right now is Japan. Fantastic. Big breakout over the 60 and has done nothing but trend. Again, you see how you'll start to see this pattern a lot. See where it spends multiple weeks inside of a single kind of push week. This one just resolved to the upside. Other times it can resolve to the downside. But this one worked out great. Continue to hold. We own equity in this trade. We've been in and out of the options. I think if we could get a pullback in EWJ, be a phenomenal opportunity to buy call options. Long dated call options is typically what we like to buy for our positions. And we'll get into other videos exactly how we put those on, take those off, and manage long dated call options, or they're also known as leaps. Materials we love. It's been a great trade. Owned it via call options, long dated call options. But again, you can see, so you have a big break and then you have multiple weeks inside of this break. So it's building steam. Might have to move down to pull more buyers before it can move back up. But again, if you have a position, nothing to do, we'll look to add long dated call options on this once the opportunity arises. There's no opportunity here, I don't think. Next up, let's look at Visa. Just spending a lot of time, again, in this initial move, and it's winding up. These are indecision bars. They're just battling back and forth, the buyers and the sellers. This will get resolved. And this is building up a lot of pressure. As you can see, 1, 2, 3, 4, you have 5 weeks inside this bar. So eventually this is going to go. More than likely it resolves up because it's Visa, MasterCard, typically how they all resolve. Same thing with MasterCard, a little bit more stuck in the mud. Visa seems to have a little bit more air above for it to get busy, but MasterCard is very similar. Love trading Visa, MasterCard. They're great vehicles, and they're great stocks to own for the long haul. Palantir, we traded this one really well. This one actually did great. We bought I think we bought right here around the $10 range, and then we sold, I think 18, 19, 20 bucks small position, and then we sold almost 90% of the position over in the $26 range. So almost probably 100, 200% return on equity, which is insane when you think about this all happened in about 30 days. So we carry a small position waiting for this thing to digest. Again, big thrust, big open, big move, and then it's suspending weeks, consolidating inside of this week. More than likely, probably resolves lower, but as crazy as this market is right now, if they come in and buy tons of call options on Palantir, especially on the weekly or the front month, this thing is just going to continue to rip higher. So we hold a small position looking for like a decent pullback to put a much larger position on, but happy to ride this higher. TAN is kind of like the negative trade to the energy trade. This thing just continues to trend ridiculously well. Nothing to do here. Waiting for a tactical type entry, but it's just not giving it to you. So I don't chase. I don't like to chase. I never do good when I do chase. So I just keep it on the radar, but we'll look for something like this to happen so that we can put on some long dated positions so that we can ride another trend accordingly. Let's see. Other than that, I think that kind of covers most of our weeklies. Let's look at TDOC. A little troublesome, it's just consolidating here. Not really trending anymore. So waiting to see what it's going to do. Looks to be a great trade in the 180s, moving up. But if it can hold this base, eventually this will turn again and move higher. But no position in Teladoc. Overstock. This one can be frustrating, but I like it. So continues to consolidate here. We own a small position in the 55 range, looking for this to put in a higher high and a higher low, and then move back up into this 128 range. Small position, this thing really likes to move, as you can tell here. 10% move in a day is quite a big move. So we typically size these a little bit smaller so that we can be more flexible on adding and taking off the position because it does move a lot. Datadog, which is another one, it's a tech Momo name, basically Momo Momentum. Looks good. We owned it down here. Again, always like to trade at the edge, but we jumped out a little too early with this indecision bar, and it wound up trending. But that's the way it goes. Wait for another opportunity in it. Camping World, love it. Crazy trade, but I love it. It's had a hell of a move. It's pulled back. It's consolidating. What we want is we want to see this start moving back up. So we'll have to wait and see. Hopefully this is a swing right here and that we can start to move back up to those 35s. That would be very, very productive, but we own the equity in this one. Pays a great dividend. Again, sitting around waiting. Nothing to do. Desktop Metal is a new one. This was a SPAC that we came across. I wouldn't go crazy here. We have a very, very tiny position. I just like it. I know a little bit about 3D printing, and this basically does, it prints metal, which is super interesting. But we have a small position in it, nothing grand. It's just a feeler position to wait and see how this whole thing kind of pans out. Other than that, it's got a lot of open air underneath it, but then it's kind of techy. It could definitely run higher. Don't know. So again, we sized it real small, but I like it as a long-term hold. Love the idea of 3D printing, love the idea of 3D printing metal. And as the technology continues to get better and better and better, this should be a great stock. Do like uranium. So we have a small position in this one. Broke out higher over the 12, so you have it. Now let's see if you can hold. It's confirming it down here on volume, so I really like it. Again, small position because I'm not really at the edge. This is more down here at the edge. This is definitely at the top end of the range. So we have, again, a small position on just to see as a feeler, and then we'll look to add to it tactically as the opportunities arise. Other one I like is FANG. It's basically another energy trade, real similar to the XLE and the XOM on the weekly. Pays a decent dividend as well. Again, we own the equity in this. I think that we can definitely get up into these 80s, if not all the way to 90 on this one. So yeah, long energy, long Japan, looking to get long more materials and some other stocks as they present themselves. But on the weekly, that's kind of where we're at. On the daily, you can see on FANG, basic pullback up against the 20. You know, big volume on Friday, but I think that was a quad witch or basically quad expiration. So that's probably where all the volume came in. But we'll have to wait and see how it opens. And then I'm just going to go back through the same ones that we looked at. Again, nothing here with the uranium trade, Desktop Metal. It's crazy. It went public, went nuts, and then now it's hopefully it can digest this, and then over time, and then turn back up and start trending. But I wouldn't be super active in this name. And again, Camping World needs to make that higher high, so we want to get it up into that 35 range. And if you can get up over this 35, I think that's a great tell because that's where the initial selling started. So we need to make a higher high. We need to get up over 35. That would be very productive. Look at TAN. Again, this thing just trends ridiculously well. And as you can see, when they trend, it loves the 20-day as a tactical pullback. So you'll see us use the 20-day to add. XLE, nice little pullback, as you can see, again, tactically to the 20-day. Exxon, a little stronger than XLE, not as close to the 20-day, but it's there. Let's look at Palantir, probably pretty crazy. Again, nice little pullback, bounce, drifting into back to this 20-day. Hopefully, what we're looking at is this will just hold, trade sideways, consolidate, consolidate, consolidate this gigantic move before it resumes new highs. But again, we took most off. So again, small position on this one. It was a great trade. It just happened so quickly. We typically hold things way longer, but when you buy something for $9 and it goes to 33 in basically 30 days, it's just, I mean, it's pretty prudent just to take the win or take a bulk of the win and then just ride a smaller position out, because this is probably going to take some time to digest this entire move. All right, let's look at materials again. XLB, beautiful, right off the 20-day here. As you can see, as it turns up, it's great, it's trending, nothing to do. A break above is just going to lead to new highs, new money, so on and so forth. Looks great. Japan, again, fantastic. Won't even pull back meaningfully. It just wants to trend. So with our positions, we just leave them be. There's not much to do. And Freeport, sideways consolidation, probably consolidates more. I would think it's had a hell of a move and probably needs a good pullback before it can resume or take another shot at the high. Tips, they just trend. They dollar-wise, they don't move a ton, but you can really load these up, meaning you can take big positions in these. And it pays a decent, a little dividend, and you get the appreciation kicker. Not a bad way if you have a large cash position in your account. Not a bad way to put your cash position to work while you're buying call options or equities or being long. Let's look at the other bond, TLT. Again, not much here. I don't know, not much to do. I think it's kind of dead. So leave it be, come back to it later. Square, again, it just trends ridiculously well. Silver looks great, even though kind of at the high end of this range right here. It's been a day inside the previous day. Still a little suspect. So I'm standing aside on the PMs for now. Again, gold's same thing. Silver's at the high, gold's not. They're not in lockstep. They typically do really well when they move together. They do extremely well. So a little suspect on the on those trades. Let's see if Dixie will come up. Sometimes Thinkorswim gives you trouble with the DXY, and sometimes they're good. Looks like it wants to give us trouble. Here's the S&P. Again, not much. As you can see, it's kind of funny how the call walls work, right? See the 370s? See how it's just hitting it like right here. Look, hit it, pushes through it, can't do it. What does it do? It pulls back to the 20. Again, right here, a little bit better shot at it because they tried to build a call wall at the 375s, but I don't think that there was enough option activity for it to move the wall. So again, the wall holds. And if you go back and understand gamma and the way the put wall works, you'll notice that these, when sell-offs happen, the put walls are phenomenal magnets. Meaning if you know where the put wall is and a sell-off happens, it allows you to have tremendous amounts of patience because more than likely the market wants to trade down to that put wall to test it. So what we like is it just gives you patience and it gives you a place to do business so you don't have to worry about what's the market doing every second, every day. Again, it just allows you less anxiety when you trade. You don't have as much fear. You just wait for it to come down into the put wall, see how it acts, put on your positions, and you're either rewarded or punished. It's pretty simple. And then on the Qs, not bad. Once that break wants to move higher, but maybe a little stuck in the mud. And then IWM is nuts. Like you got to give it to IWM. It's just, they're just buying it hand over fist and it's just crushing. So I'm not in it, wish I was, but that's the way it goes. We'll just be tactical, wait for a pullback. And that is about it. If you guys are interested in the learning about gamma and the way that the options work, link in the description below. Vol trigger that we utilize as well. We'll put that link below. And if you guys have any questions, feel free to leave it in the comment section and I'll do my best to get those answered in the next video. Keep an eye out. We'll be doing a lot of like instructional videos on exactly how we put on positions and how we trade. And I think that's it. Hopefully you guys have a great night and talk soon.